Welcome, wonderful people of the internet. This is the Lazy Piece of Shit podcast. Here, we like to talk about all the awkward and uncomfortable things you might be thinking but are too embarrassed to say. My name is Dan, and I am cordially inviting you to witness me making a fool of myself with each week's new episode. But for now, get comfortable, grab a drink, and let's get into it. All right, welcome everybody to the first episode of the Lazy Piece of Shit podcast. I'm so excited to have you all here, very thankful for everybody tuning in, and I'm excited to share this journey with you all. I'm looking forward to spending the foreseeable Fridays hanging out, getting to know each other, and trying our best to reach our fitness, health, and self-discovery goals. But first things first, let's get situated, get comfortable, and get ready to hang out for the next little bit as we get to know each other. That was a nice, crisp, tall can of my favorite, Bud Light. And if you are listening to the podcast and having yourself a drink, if anybody's trying to give you a hard time, saying you can't be drinking alone, that kind of stuff, just point them in my direction and let them know that I'm enjoying a delicious beverage, so why can't you? And as always, please make sure you are enjoying responsibly and you are only partaking in alcoholic beverages if you are of the legal age, depending where you are. That being said, each week I am going to try and find a new beverage to shout out on our mission to find that perfect summer drink. Obviously, I'm going to do my best to try and shout out some local wineries, distilleries, breweries, cideries. Those are popping up everywhere now. So if you have any recommendations, please definitely send them along. And if by any chance you own or you're working for a brewery, distillery, cidery, or winery and you want your product to get a shout out, send it on over. I don't think I know anybody who would say no to a free drink. And I'll make sure to give it an honest review on the podcast and make sure I throw a post up on my Lazy Piece of Shit Instagram page so that we can get the maximum coverage, if you will. And now that we are all comfortable and we have our drinks all ready to go, we can definitely get into this week's episode. So this week's episode, I'm going to keep it a little bit short and sweet, just an introduction to myself, the podcast, kind of what I plan to do with it, and how things are going to run each week. Think of it as a first date, if you will. And if by any means it doesn't work out, it's definitely probably me, not you. Don't worry. And before we get too carried away and too far into this episode, I do just want to make sure everybody's on the same page when it comes to the things I discuss, my opinions and experiences and that kind of fun stuff. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that I am by no means a professional in any regards, except for snacking maybe, nor will I ever claim to be professional. That means I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a fitness expert, by no means am I a psychiatrist, a financial expert. I think you get the idea. I'm just a guy sharing his experiences and opinions from his basement. I mean, at least I'm not still in my parents' basement, so that's a plus, I guess. So if you are going to be starting any new diets, workout routines, anything like that, please make sure you're always talking to a professional and getting their opinion before you start. All right, so now that that boring stuff is out of the way and we've taken care of all the legal things so I don't get sued, let's kind of start getting to know each other. So, my name's Dan. I am in my early 30s. I'm just an average guy who's kind of found himself stuck in a little bit of a rut. I've become very comfortable in underachieving, if you will, there. And this was kind of all before the pandemic and COVID hit. So now that we add on a year and a half of that and the way it's kind of changed everyone's livelihoods, things are getting pretty rough for me, if you will, when it comes to the old fitness and health situation. I'm down to about 2 fitting sweaters, couple t-shirts, 1 pair of good jeans, and to be honest, I just blew the crotch out of them the other week, so if you're part of that hashtag thick thigh squad, you know what I'm talking about. I've never really had a whole lot of success when it comes to trying to attain my fitness and health goals. To be honest, I've never really put 100% into it. I've just kind of, done things here or there to try and make myself feel better, which never really results in anything. And then I get upset when I don't see change, and it's just kind of like a vicious circle. I feel like some people that I've spoken to are kind of in the same boat. It's just that vicious circle of things not happening fast enough and then kind of getting back into those ways of, eating out a lot, and drinking too much and everything like that. So as I said, with the pandemic kind of slowly coming to an end here, hopefully soon, I definitely need to take more accountability and responsibility with my fitness and health goals, so that way I can start feeling better about myself and, living my best life, if you will. So why now? Why have I kind of finally decided to start taking things a little bit more seriously in regards to fitness, health, and trying to be the best person I can be? Well, obviously with the pandemic kind of still in swing, I do work retail, so I am down in hours and that kind of stuff, so I do have a little bit more time on my hands to be able to focus on things, and I definitely told myself I will not be spending those extra hours and that extra time each day playing video games and literally just kind of going deeper and deeper into this hole that I've dug myself. So I've told myself that I am going to take that extra time that I have to focus on things like meal prepping, making sure I'm working out consistently, getting out each day, for a walk or, rollerblade or a bike ride, something like that. Just not sitting in the basement playing video games all day. I also definitely want to start kind of, feeding the brain a little bit more. I'm trying to do a little bit more reading, listening to more educational podcasts, and just less time mindlessly scrolling through the old social media, which we kind of get sucked into each and every day. I have just noticed throughout my years of staying lazy, I have found that there doesn't seem to be a huge space on social media platforms for people who are deciding to take charge and kind of go through these fitness journeys. You do see a lot of these fitness influencers, especially in the health and fitness industry, who are already reached their peak performance. They've reached their, body image goals and all that kind of stuff, and they're feeling great about themselves. And they are at this point just using the platform to more or less help people achieve, their goals, which is absolutely fantastic. And I would never, ever want to, take away from what they've done and the time and effort that they've put in. But for me, I did just find that sometimes it was just a tad bit discouraging when you're seeing all these, male models, female models, they're already jacked, they got their six packs and they're already ready to go, telling you that, oh, you can do it, you can do it. So I just find that there isn't really a space for people, average people like us, that are kind of on our journey to try and get better and be better. Like somebody like, for instance, Will Smith, gotta give a shout out to him. He recently started his Big Willie challenge, which was posting a picture of him and where his body's at with dealing with the pandemic. And obviously it's nowhere near a, Independence Day or Bad Boys 2 situation. And he's kind of taking charge, a little bit of a call to action for people around him to try and, join him in getting back to where they want to be with their health and fitness. Again, fantastic, love it. But it's just also one of those things where Will Smith is a very wealthy actor. I'm sure he has multiple, chefs and personal trainers and all those kind of things to really kind of help him out. So again, just another kind of unrealistic expectation being put on the situation where people like us average folk who, have families, have relationships, have, full-time work and all that kind of stuff, probably aren't going to be able to achieve the results that he can in such a fast manner. So that's kind of where I went and why I want to more or less use this podcast, and in conjunction my Instagram page, where I'll kind of be putting a lot of stuff up there to create a more realistic and relatable kind of journey and community that people can relate to a lot easier than, for instance, Will Smith or these other wealthy actors and actresses alongside, Instagram influencers who their job is to, work out all day, eat properly. They have the resources through their platforms to make sure that they are attaining and giving us the information that we need to try and make things a little bit more successful for ourselves. So obviously here at the Lazy Piece of Shit podcast, we want to make sure that we're trying to give everybody a little bit of a different side of the kind of quote unquote fitness industry. Each week's new episode, I'm going to give a honest and unfiltered fitness update, talking about the struggles I faced that week. Did I get all my workouts in? How did the meal prep go? Did I get out and move each day, whether that be, going for a walk, a bike ride, anything like that. As always, what can I improve on? I'll let you know, did I end up at McDonald's or Wendy's, which I'm not going to lie is definitely going to happen, because trying to cut out things like that 100% just isn't going to work. And that's kind of where I've found that I've struggled a lot. But did I make smarter choices? I'm notorious for making sure I upsize my fries, or I add on a snack wrap or pies or something like that. So if I am ending up at McDonald's or Wendy's? Am I making smarter decisions? Am I, keeping the fries regular? Am I, making sure I'm not upsizing the drink? Also, just kind of like a side note here, I'm super happy that McDonald's is almost always out of apple pies, because I can guarantee I would be a lot bigger than what I am right now if they had them in more, that's for sure. And then I'm always going to obviously try and find something that I did well to build off of, because at the end of the day, when it comes to your health, fitness, and working on a diet and that kind of stuff, it really is a marathon. It's not a 100-meter sprint, so there are going to be falls, there are going to be stumbles, but just making sure that we know that that's okay, and that we don't turn a cheat meal into a cheat day, a cheat week, or a cheat month, or a cheat year for where I am right now. And then obviously after the update, when it comes to how my fitness is going and all that kind of fun stuff, I'm going to try and find a topic that I can discuss that maybe I've struggled with, or is a real kind of red button topic for society right now when it comes to men's health, women too. Obviously, I want to make sure that we're trying to keep those listeners engaged as well. Obviously, my expertise do lie in a little bit more of a male kind of experiences, but I'm more than happy to talk about all the other kinds of issues that are out there, and maybe just provide my opinion, my perspective on that. So as I said, all those awkward, uncomfortable, and usually weird things that we don't like to talk about is what we'll be going through. Nothing is really off limits. I really don't have any shame, as you can tell. So things like, different stereotypes, obviously mental health when it comes to men, women, everybody in between, dating, finances, sex, personal grooming. Obviously, we'll do the personal grooming before the sex so that everyone can kind of get on the same page, if you will. Obviously, there's a lot of doom and gloom right now with the pandemic and kind of all the crazy stuff going on in the world. So I am going to try and keep things light, fun, and make sure that we are kind of touching on those tough subjects, but also doing it in a way that we all enjoy. So there'll be lots of self-deprecating humor, personal experiences, and some well-worded Google searches. And just to reiterate, to make sure that if you are going to be starting any new diet, workout programs, anything along those lines, to always make sure that you are talking to a professional first to make sure that it is right for you. I'm going to make sure to have a new episode of the podcast out every Friday, just in time for the weekend. So when you're on your way home from work, or if you're finishing your chores and you need a break, grab yourself a beverage, sit down, pop the podcast on, and just kind of relax for a little bit. At least that's my plan. For the time being, for the first couple episodes, I'm going to do probably just myself talking, so get used to my sexy voice. And as things progress and things maybe take off a little bit, I am going to do my best to try and get guests on here to kind of help with, our journeys, whether that be, fitness, health, self-discovery, anything like that. I really only know so much, so getting people who tend to be a little more experts in their field on to help us is going to kind of be the goal that I want to aim towards for sure. And then my goal right now is to kind of put the time and effort in to make the podcast, Instagram, the YouTube channel, all that kind of stuff into a community that we all can kind of come together, work together with the understanding that none of us are perfect. And by no means do we have, personal chefs, or do we have all the time in the world to work out and make sure our meal prepping and all that stuff's good to go. So if you do stumble, it'll be a safe place to say, and then we can help each other out, pick each other up, and kind of keep moving forward, talk openly about our setbacks or what's holding us back or things that we are, struggling with. I don't think anyone's kind of thrived over the last year and a half with everything going on with the COVID pandemic. And as most places kind of start to slowly lift restrictions and we kind of hopefully get back to what we hope is normal that we used to be comfortable with. I don't think that's going to be the situation. I think we are going to be in a whole totally new world, right? Where we have issues from the pandemic that we have to deal with, and then we have issues of, trying to get back into, dating, hanging out with friends, going out to dinner, lunches, that kind of stuff, that are going to bring up a whole new set of issues that we are going to have to work through. So having a community of like-minded individuals kind of all working together to work through all these new problems and issues that are going to be arising is kind of the goal for this podcasting community that I have planned here. And maybe just to hear somebody who's going through the same things as you are may help people out. And honestly, that's what it's all about, working together to make the best situations for ourselves and giving ourselves the chance to be successful, because that is really what it's all about here at the Lazy Piece of Shit podcast. We are just trying to become the best versions of ourselves. And with that being said, I definitely want to try and get listeners as involved as possible when it comes to things like this. You know, I can't be the only one talking about all my problems. I mean, I do have a lot, but I'd love to get some, feedback from listeners and people who are struggling. If you have a topic idea, if you have any feedback about the show, general questions or concerns, or if maybe you have an issue or question that you're too embarrassed to ask a significant other or something like that, send it to me. I'll talk about it here. I'll make sure to get some answers for you. I'll make sure you feel safe in asking the question and getting the response. And I can always make sure everything's anonymous so they don't even know who it's coming from. It's just being talked about. You will be able to find the podcast on all the major platforms. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, iHeartRadio. There'll always be a link in my profile on Instagram to take you to where you need to go. From my understanding, it does take a couple days to get approval from places like Apple, Google, Amazon, Spotify, all that kind of fun stuff. So keep a lookout at the Lazy Piece of Shit Instagram page for all the details in regards to, new episodes, new topic ideas, keeping up with how I'm doing each week with the fitness journey, tips and tricks, and of course there'll be some well-timed memes. I don't by any means want to overwhelm people with crazy kind of stuff, me talking for hours and hours. So that's not going to be what the Instagram page is about. It's just going to be a little bit of an escape for people to tune into when they want to get away from kind of all the craziness that's going on in the real world. So as always, please make sure you follow me at my Instagram at lazy.pieceofsht for all the latest and greatest content. The podcast will be on YouTube and Twitter. You'll be able to find the links obviously on my Instagram page. I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on Instagram and YouTube. So especially with YouTube, like, subscribe, share. We're always going to be trying to do fun things through those kinds of platforms. If you would like to get in contact with me, you can reach me at my email address, lazypieceofsh.t@gmail.com, or you can always just shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'll make sure all the links and all this kind of fun stuff are posted in a post so that way you don't have to remember anything. As I was just trying to kind of keep it short and sweet this week, just trying to really, give you guys an idea of what you're going to be expecting when hanging out with me here on the Lazy Piece of Shit podcast. So I do thank you so much for all tuning in. I look forward to getting to know everyone each week a little bit better. And if, it's not going to work out, I totally understand. I'm not going to hold it against you. But if you are going to stick around, tune in next week as we do a deep dive into my storied past of trying to get into shape. And let me tell you, it is quite the saga. We'll talk about all the things that haven't worked so far for me, what I've learned, because I do a lot of research on things, and why I think this time I'm going to be successful. I do have to say, it is a little bit of a hint. I think it's because of all of you, and we're all going to work together to become the best versions of ourselves. So I'm pretty excited about that. But that concludes this week's episode. Have a wonderful night. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe and stay weird, my friends.